Okay.
All right, 7 o'clock on Monday, January 11th, 2021. I'll call the village board meeting to order. As you know, pursuant to the governor's executive order, we are holding this meeting entirely remote tonight. Residents have had multitude of ways to contact us and also view this meeting this evening. And I'm getting feedback from somebody. There you go. All right, go ahead and call the roll, please.
Trustee Guyer,
Here.
Trustee Spurling,
Here.
Trustee Lee, Trustee Youngerman,
Here.
Trustee Marisak,
Here.
and Trustee Betzinger.
Here.
All right, we do have a quorum this evening. Move on to our public participation. This is the opportunity for any member of the public to address the board. Has anybody, and they've had several ways to make their comments this evening. Has anybody emailed you, called you, or otherwise submitted any public comments? Jeff?
No, we have not received any public comment.
And is anybody on the line this evening that's not otherwise on the agenda that wishes to make public comment? No, can they raise their hand if they do need to?
They
I don't
can,
see
or they
anybody,
can,
but-
they can, or they can put something in the chat, and I'm not seeing anything.
Okay. All right. Hearing none, we'll move on from the public participation. I'll read the items on consent and entertain a motion for approval. We have minutes of the village board meeting of December 14th, a building report for December 2020, the year-end building report for 2020, refuse report for November of 2020, the water production report for December of 2020, accounts payable through December 28th of 2020, accounts payable through January 9th, 2021, cancellation of our January cow, and then a proclamation for a Realtor Association 100-year anniversary.
So moved. Second.
Moved and second. Go ahead and take the roll.
Trustee Youngerman,
Yes.
Trustee Marisak,
Yes.
Trustee Betzinger,
Yes.
Trustee Guyer,
Yes.
Trustee Spurling,
Yes.
and Trustee Lee.
All right. He's not with us yet. We'll get to him. Moving on to our items for separate action this evening. We have a few of those. Item A is a recommendation of Plan Commission PC 2021-001, annexation and rezoning at 745 Montgomery Road. This is John Mercado. And the second item, which we'll discuss and not take action at the same time, is ordinance 1902, annexing and rezoning that property. With that, I'll ask Director Young for his summary.
Thank you, Mr. President. This item is a single family lot that is obviously unincorporated at this time at 745 Montgomery Road. Mr. Mercado is in need of water service from the village because his well has failed. And so the Plan Commission recommended approval of the annexation and rezoning for residential use.
And if I may, I believe that the ordinance is on for waiver of the first and passage on, waiver first, passage on second.
Yes,
Sorry.
that's correct.
Good catch. Okay, any questions for staff on the item?
I have a question, if I might. Just kind of reviewing this, what sort of connection fee does this homeowner have to pay?
I don't remember exactly what the connection fee is. Jared, I don't know if you know what the connection fee is, but he has already paid that fee and has a permit to connect subject to annexation and zoning.
Okay.
Yes, the permit fee is just over $4,000 for the tap fee and the meter.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or a motion?
Motion to approve?
Accept.
Motion by Doug,
Doug,
second by
accept.
Sperling.
Yeah, excuse
Go ahead
me.
and call the roll. This is on item A, the Plan Commission recommendation.
Trustee Marisak,
Yes.
trustee Betzinger,
Yes.
trustee Guyer,
Yes.
trustee Spurling,
Yes,
and trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
All right, let's roll right into, and thank you, that carries. We'll roll right into item B, ordinance 1902, annexation and rezoning of the property, waiver of first and passage on the second reading.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Marisak, second by Youngerman. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none. Penny, will you call the roll?
Trustee Marisak,
Yes.
trustee Betzinger,
I saw yes. Go ahead.
trustee Guyer,
Yes.
trustee Spurling,
yes,
and trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
All right, that carries. Thank you. Rolling along to item C this evening is resolution 2021-002. It's appointing members of the Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals to serve on the village's zoning commission per the UDO, and I'll let Rich explain this a little bit.
Thank you. Yes, this action is needed to establish a zoning commission. As we look at the new UDO, we will be adopting or proposing that the village board adopt a new zoning map. There'll be fewer zoning districts in the new UDO than from what we have currently. And we have to have a zoning commission make a recommendation to the village board for approval of the new zoning map. So we're suggesting that you appoint the members of the Plan Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals to the Zoning Commission.
This is just a housekeeping item essentially, correct?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, the zoning commission is required by statute. It just as if you redo the zoning map, a zoning commission needs to vet it. So yeah, just as a matter of course, we wanted to make sure that we had that covered as well.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Rich and Steve. Any other comments or a motion?
So moved. Second.
All right, moved by Doug, second by Tom. If there's no other discussion, Penny, will you call the roll?
Trustee Marisak,
Yes.
trustee Betzinger, trustee Guyer,
Yes.
trustee Spurling,
yes,
and trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
All right, that carries unanimously. Thank you. Item D this evening for separate action is a resolution 2021-001, approving a conditional grant agreement with Graysmill Partners LLC pursuant to the village's downtown Mill District Restaurant Incentive Program. Director Young?
Yeah, I'm actually going to be taking this one. I'll go ahead and start. So yes, this item synthesizes the board's past discussions with regard to the conditional grant program. And the document that you're reviewing and approving tonight, if it's your pleasure, would be just for the first of those two. So this is the first $200,000 grant, and that second $2,000 grant would have to come back for later action. There's two items worth highlighting tonight. The first is that the applicant has requested that the grant be issued at building permit instead of certificate of occupancy. This request was made after the documents were drafted. So if the board would like to grant this request, we would request that the motion include that amendment in it. And then second of all, we would just request that this be subject to attorney review because there are a couple items that will need to be, sorry, I'm getting really bad feedback right now.
Yes. Hey, Laura, hold on a second. Is that Denny on the line, or whose phone number is that?
yeah.
There you go. He's muted. So yes, I would ask that if you're going to watch TV during the meeting, if you can mute your phone, that'd be helpful. Can you I hate to
Start
do this
over.
to you. Can you start at the beginning? Because I couldn't hear any of that.
Sure, I wasn't sure if that was me or if that was someone else's line, but okay.
No.
So, this is the first of the two grants that have been discussed with regard to the Graysmill establishment. So separate action would be required for that second $200,000 grant with regard to the phase two. There's two items with this phase one grant that I wanted to call to your attention specifically. The first is that since the last board meeting and after the documents were drafted, a request had been made that the grant be issued at the building permit instead of certificate of occupancy. So in the past, all the discussions had tied that phase one to the CO, and now the request has been made for it to be issued with the building permit. So if the board would like to authorize the grant to be issued at building permit, that would need to be part of tonight's motion because the documents are drafted as the original discussion had taken place. And then second, we would just ask that this be approved subject to attorney review because there are a few items with regard to security and trying to, we haven't had a chance to review all the documents and whatever constraints the grantee might have with regard to security. So we would just ask for the flexibility to be able to review those documents and incorporate that language into the contract as needed.
Okay. And for whoever does make a motion, I would ask that you make that motion subject to attorney review, but also to include the grant at the building permit issuance, like Laura mentioned.
I have a question, if I might, just for, I guess, for public purposes. In my discussion with Rich on this, it's my understanding that the petitioner, we've already approved the two $200,000 loans, or I don't know if you want to call them, they're not a loan, but the two $200,000 payments. In wanting this at building permit now, the first 200,000, in my discussion with Rich, I'm on the understanding that the next phase is going to happen about 6 to 8 months sooner than what the original next phase was going to occur. Is that correct?
The applicants intend to now mesh the two phases together. They had made a presentation to the board regarding a two-phased approach to the development of the site. They've indicated to me as late as last Friday that they now intend to move forward on both phases at the same time. They don't want to have construction or a significant amount of construction going on when they open their first phase in the basement of the facility. So they're going to blend the two phases together. They'll still be somewhat phased, obviously, but because of weather conditions, but they intend to do all the improvements at one time. So as Laura mentioned, they've requested that the phase one grant be granted at the time of building permit. When phase two comes back, phase two of the grants comes back, you will then have to set a distribution time frame, maybe substantial completion of the work, or at some other point in the process of the development of the site, then the second grant could be released. But we'll deal with that as they get going on the first one.
So no one is asking for any more additional monies than what the village board has already approved?
Well, you did a review of it and indicated that you would approve it. This is technically, this would be approval of the first of the two grants.
All they want to do now is a timing change.
Correct.
Okay.
And Rich, the building permit has been issued, so.
No, there has not been a building permit issued.
Okay.
There are architectural plans that we believe are going to be submitted this week, and then we'll review those for their first phase of construction. Their intent is to follow up with other permit plans coming in shortly for the second phase of the development. So, but there has been no permit issued as of yet. We anticipate it'll be issued this month, but we have the need for plans to review, and they have not been submitted yet.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Doug.
I do. I don't have an issue with moving it
forward, but I really think we need to hold the line on the second one to be dispersed at time of occupancy so that the project is complete. So fronting this money, I'm okay with, but I really want the second one to be conditional on being at occupancy.
I agree.
Agreed. Any other questions from the board?
No, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2021-001. Money to be issued with the building permit and subject to attorney review.
Second?
Any discussion? Okay, Penny, will you call the roll?
Trustee Guyer,
Yes.
trustee Spurling,
No.
trustee Lee,
Yes.
trustee Youngerman,
Yes.
trustee Marisak,
Yes.
and trustee Betzinger.
No.
All right, and that carries 4-2. Thank you, appreciate it. And we look forward to the redevelopment and that building coming back to life. I'm already excited to see the exterior work that's happened in such a short time. So I look forward to Phil, Mike, Mr. Dolan, you guys' development in our town. We're excited and happy to have you. With that, I would move on to item E this evening, which is the intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Oswego and the United City of Yorkville for federal lobbyist services. And Jeff, did you want to summarize? You want me to summarize a little bit?
Sure, if you want to.
Okay. So over the last several months, and I've had conversations with many of our members, Jeff and I have been working with the mayors and administrators from Oswego and Yorkville, and actually the county, to review and engage a federal lobbyist to act on our behalf out in Washington to help secure funds and support for two projects. One of which would be the future of our water supply, which we have talked at great length with this board over the last many years. And I think in the coming year or more, we will be solidifying our approach, and at which time we're going to need to seek a large sum of money, either via loans or direct grants for the funding of that project. And so the four entities or the three entities involved in this agreement are sharing the cost of a federal lobbyist to work with the new Congress and the new president to secure funding for this project. Scope B is the Metro project. So it's same idea, but joining forces to try and find a way to usher in some federal support and federal dollars or loans for the future of Metro in Kendall County. I've talked with many of you who understand that the Metro situation might be a little bit further off than our water situation. The cost for a federal lobbyist is the same either way. I, for one, fully support the both issues, but feel like our water solution and funding is more eminent, and so that's why I'm bringing this to you tonight. Oswego has approved the contract with the lobbyist, who is actively on ground in Washington, trying to get us plugged into any sort of federal capital bill or any other of the multitude of funding sources that are available. So I may have gone way too much into it, but Jeff, if there's anything that I forgot that you want to mention to the board.
The only things I'd point out, Yorkville has it on their agenda for tomorrow, and the county, I believe, is discussing it at a committee of the whole on Thursday. And then lastly, the monthly fee that's shown, the $12,500, that is the total that'll be split among the four groups. So that is not like our monthly share. That's the total that'll be split.
And it's a 1-year contract, correct?
Yes, but there's an out clause throughout.
Right. But it's 1 year. We can reassess next year. So
Yes.
any questions for the board?
I have
one
a-
question for Matter. I'm sorry, Teresa, go ahead.
That's a, Matt, I may have missed this. I was looking down and reading through this again. The water is going to be the top priority?
I think they're just equal priorities. They have staff working on both issues. It's my number one, so I listed it first, but yeah.
And
Yeah,
do all four entities then have to, like, if they have to like pick one to go after first, do all four entities have to agree, hey, we want you to push for the water first?
I mean, they're going to be working on both simultaneously. We've had conversations with them, and it'll just be really when they can find funding, available for whichever project. They're not focusing on water and then they're going to switch. They'll be actively looking for both.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Tom.
My question, if Yorkville or the county decide to opt out of opting in for this lobbyist, would we be then splitting that 50-50 with Oswego? Is that addressed in what we're passing tonight or looking to pass tonight?
I mean, that'd be a conversation we would have. It doesn't necessarily fall to us that way, but
I'm just wondering the mechanism of it. If we
Yeah.
agree to this tonight, one of those other two entities do not pass or get on board, where are the dollars? Are we in essence agreeing to maybe half, or is it would it come back again next month
right.
for a?
It would come back
review?
for discussion. And if this board said that's all we agreed to, then I mean that's technically what we put in. And the contract with the lobbyist is with the Village of Oswego. So ultimately, they're taking the risk because it falls on them.
Understood. Thank you.
And Jeff, I think we brought this up, and I thought they had an out. If everybody else dropped off, I thought Oswego could still find a way to cancel the project.
Yeah.
That was my understanding anyway. But yeah,
I mean, like I
our
said, there's an
exposure
out
would be
clause,
limited.
so.
Yep. All right. Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, Penny, will you call the roll?
Trustee Youngerman,
Yes.
trustee Marisak,
Yes.
trustee Betzinger,
Yes.
trustee Guyer,
Yes.
trustee Spurling,
Yes.
and trustee Lee.
Yes. Awesome, thank you. That carries 6-0. One comment, Jeff, is can you make sure that the board is receiving updates that our federal and state lobbyists are passing along as they work on our behalf in Springfield and in DC over the coming months? I'm sure there'll be a flurry of activity in both, honestly. So at least that's the hope.
Yep.
All right.
Will do.
Yes, please.
With that, I'm gonna roll right into items for discussion this evening. The only item is the COVID-19 sick leave policy. Administrator Zolfo, you want to summarize this issue?
Sure.
Or is it Dustin?
No, I can
All right.
summarize it. As you could see in the cover sheet, one of the many acts that the federal government passed, COVID-related, expanded FMLA benefits and provided emergency sick leave of up to 80 hours for people who were exposed or tested positive to COVID. That act ran out on December 31st. Municipalities are doing multiple things. Some are just going back to sick time policies they previously had. Some have expanded the program on their own or extended the program on their own. This is a policy decision for the board. So we've provided a policy for you if you would like to extend the program. Staff discussion, some of the reasons we talked about is we feel it's equitable that way for employees who previously maybe contracted or been exposed to COVID, and then those who may still going forward. Now I just totally lost my train of thought there, see?
Employees
allows-
moving forward.
Yeah, it allows us then, it also covers if somebody has used time previously, they would not be eligible for this time. If they've used the full 80 hours. If they previously used 40 hours under the federal program, they'd be allowed to use 40 hours under this program.
Jeff, how many employees have we had using this?
I'd have to look back. I don't know that number off the top of my head. I know we have had employees that have made use of it. And we had people that were either exposed or did test positive during the course of the last year.
And I see by this description, it says you may require the employee to provide a doctor's note. Have we done that, or we just figure the person has it?
We have, you know, the situation is dependent if somebody has a doctor's note or not. There are times where if somebody has tested positive or feels they have symptoms, have gone and gotten tested, so we have received a doctor's note. There are times where someone has just been exposed, so we have asked them to stay home and monitor their symptoms. And if they've been symptom-free, a lot of times they just waited their 2 weeks and came back, so they did not get tested. And so there was not a doctor's note.
All right.
This is not something that if Teresa's used her 80 hours and I never use my 80 hours, it's not something I can bank or get paid out for later.
No, it simply exists for this. And that was the other part I was going to say about why we might extend it is there are times where we've asked the employee to stay home because they've been exposed. And it seems like if we're asking them to stay home, then it's, you know, a nice benefit to extend to them. But no, if they did not use it during the time this program was open, then that time would just go away.
I'm hopeful that as this, you know, 2020 was a unique year, and as we come into 2021, we have hopes for a vaccine and a relatively effective vaccine or vaccines. I'm hoping that this becomes less and less of an issue, but I'd still like to see that extended, because you're right, Jeff. It's still going around. We don't know. I think the village has been very lucky that we haven't been hit real hard with it as far as staff and public works, PD, and that sort of thing. But I'd still like to see that it's available as we go forward until we get this under control. And we're just beginning to, I think, turn a corner. Until we get this under control, we need to extend that.
I would be inclined to extend it through the end of our fiscal year, April 30th. That gives us just over 90 days to see the effect of the vaccinations. Right now we're going through, not us necessarily, but overall the country is going through a surge. You know, we never have really gotten control of it with this first wave. You know, everyone talks about a second wave. Well, we're still riding that first wave and we're having another surge now. So I would not want to take this away in case we have a problem, or, you know, any of our employees have a problem. So I just, that's my idea, is extend it through the end of our fiscal year, April 30th. And, you know, hopefully things are much better by then and we don't have to revisit it. Otherwise, we can revisit it going into our next fiscal year.
Yeah, I like Teresa's idea to extend to the fiscal year end, because I noticed down here it was blank on the time. And I do have a question on paragraph 5 in the second sentence. That says employees are expected to quarantine and stay in communication with the department head. Is that just an expectation, or should that be a requirement?
We can certainly change that to say, required.
Now, I guess another question, and I like Teresa's idea of extending it through our fiscal year, but if someone is under quarantine, say an employee is deemed COVID positive, or they've been near someone who has, and they're being paid to stay at home, what happens if they're caught out? What happens?
Well, let's just, I'm under the understanding that our good employees wouldn't do that.
Okay.
I agree.
Any other comments or questions? Doug, go ahead.
I'm in agreement with Teresa's suggestion. I think it's a great suggestion to put a timeline on it, and we can revisit it as we move along instead of leaving it open-ended. So great idea.
Thank you.
Okay.
So we will add the 4:30 date, and if I make the wording change that Trustee Guyer talked about, can we put that on consent at the next meeting then?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I'm good.
All right. Unless there's anything else on that, I'll go into hopefully a short, newer unfinished business. Does anybody have anything for the good of the whole that you must tell us today?
Yeah, I have one quick thing, and I'll make it quick. Last year was a pretty challenging year, and I think everybody in the village really stepped up. But one thing that really was glaring to me tonight in our pack was the building report for year end of 2020. And just to see the grand totals for this year over the previous year, 642,000 increase, 45% increase, 2,500 total building inspections, 603 code violations. I think the building department did an excellent job of keeping the building department going forward last year and continuing to do their job and help staff the hall. And I commend Rich and his team for really stepping up and taking care of business in 2020 for us.
Thank you.
All right.
I don't know
Thanks,
if
sir.
I don't know if anybody said anything, but I think congratulations to Rich for being his award from King County. Maybe we brought that up earlier, and I wasn't on the phone at the time, but I think that was a good honor for Rich, and I think he should get some recognition by us saying good job, all of us. So, all right.
Thank you, Trustee Lee.
Good job.
Plus the Packers are playing this weekend, and the Browns, and Ohio State's getting beat right now. But other than that, I have no other discussion.
Hey, I'm not watching the game, Denny. Shut your face.
Oh,
Okay.
This is good. I appreciate you guys.
Chief Smith, will you go shoot him?
You only got a couple more months of me because by then the Packers will win the Super Bowl and I'll be out of office. So that's all right.
There you go. All right, Danny, good to hear from you.
Yeah.
Anything else? I don't want to cut anybody off. You can read future meetings. We'll see you in 2 weeks. No executive session, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Penny, call the roll.
Trustee Youngerman,
Yes.
trustee Marisak,
Yes.
trustee Betzinger,
Yes.
trustee Guyer,
Yes.
trustee Spurling,
Yes.
and trustee Lee.
Yes.
All right, thank you all. We'll see you soon.
Can I make a suggestion? Get Tom signs that say yes and no. You can hold them up.